What if the very air you breathe for a truly fulfilling life wasn't, career milestones or dream destinations or even a bulging bank account, but something far more intimate, something we often just take for granted?
Until it's really tested.
Exactly. Welcome to the Deep Dive. Now, you, our amazing listener, you've handed us this incredible collection of insights into the most fundamental human bonds, family and marriage.
Yeah, some really powerful stuff in there.
Right. So our mission today isn't just to skim the surface. We want to go deep, really unearth the raw, vital truths about these relationships, find those surprising bits that can either build up our lives
Or leave us completely adrift. And the stakes, honestly, they feel incredibly high with this topic.
They really do. I mean, some of the sources even talk about marriage as this radical thing, like a call to die to your old self.
Be reborn as one unit. It's intense.
It is intense. And what's striking, really, is how we'll meticulously study, markets or software, or get really good at a sport.
Oh, yeah, hours and hours of practice.
But then we approach the thing that arguably impacts our lifelong happiness the most with almost zero preparation. It's kind of wild.
It really is.
Think about the Harvard study, nearly 100 years, right? Tracking people's lives, generation after generation. And the conclusion, it's like a thunderclap.
Yeah, it wasn't complicated, was it?
Not at all. The bedrock of a happy, long life isn't what you have, it's who you're connected with.
Relationships. Simple as that.
And right at the core of that, family. I mean, look at COVID. The whole world just sort of fractured. Travel stopped, offices emptied, even churches closed.
Everything external just dissolved, didn't it?
Yeah. But what was left? What became that anchor?
The people inside your own home.
Yeah.
Your family. It really highlighted that basic need for security, for connection when everything else falls away.
But here's the painful paradox, and the sources really hit this hard. We see these brilliant people, doctors, lawyers, CEOs, folks who've conquered really demanding fields.
Top of their game professionally.
But their marriages, often struggling or, completely failed.
Yeah.
And the explanation offered is just blunt.
Years studying their craft, 0 years studying marriage.
Exactly. They wouldn't dream of doing complex surgery without training, but they walk into this incredibly complex thing called marriage with no map at all.
Which makes you wonder, why do we assume something so intricate just happens? It doesn't need deliberate effort and learning. We invest in professional development constantly.
Right. Courses, seminars, all that.
But our most intimate relationship, we just expect it to, magically work out.
And that feeds right into this idea of being unlucky in love, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah. That passive acceptance.
But the sources push back hard on that. They say it's not bad luck. It's often being, uninformed.
Right.
Or maybe unlearned, uninvolved, or just uninterested.
It puts the responsibility back on us, doesn't it? It's not fate. It's about the attention and the investment we actually make.
Yeah, the effort you put in, that's what you get out. Neglect it.
And you're probably sowing seeds for trouble down the line. It's a tough mirror to look into, but it rings true.
And the point hits like a ton of bricks. With this statistic, get this, 9 out of 10 of the wealthiest people in the world have been divorced at least once.
Wow, 9 out of 10. These are incredibly smart, driven individuals.
Exactly. They climb the highest mountains financially. So it's not like they're foolish or lazy. So what's going wrong in their personal lives?
The argument is a lack of focus, right? A lack of directed attention towards the marriage itself.
Precisely. They're laser focused on their businesses, their deals, their investments. Hours spent on market analysis, legal docs.
But neglecting the blueprint for their relationship, the crucial conversations.
Yeah. It just highlights how much we tend to undervalue actually learning about relationships. They get the power of learning for work, but don't apply it here.
And it's not like the information isn't out there.
No way. The sources point this out. There are tons of books, resources, a whole library waiting.
So the missing piece isn't the knowledge itself, it's the desire, the hunger to actually learn about marriage.
Exactly. That same drive they have for business applied to understanding their partner, understanding themselves in the relationship. It needs that conscious commitment.
It really comes down to being intentional, doesn't it? Success anywhere requires learning and practice. Relationships are no different. Ignoring that just ups the chances of things going wrong.
Okay, so that leads us to a really pivotal first step the sources emphasize, becoming the right person yourself.
Ah, yeah. Less focus on finding the perfect partner, more on your own growth.
Exactly. There's this stark line. The wrong person cannot find the right person. It just shifts the whole focus inward, doesn't it?
It does. It suggests we attract people who kind of mirror where we are internally. We haven't done our own work.
We might not even recognize a healthy partner when we see one.
Makes sense.
Think about living abroad. Someone who's been in the UK for, say, 10 years. They'll make different choices, better informed choices than someone just off the plane.
Right. Experience changes your perspective, your judgment.
It's the same with personal growth. It changes the quality of your relationship choices. Your inner state literally filters what opportunities you even see.
That inner vision the source talks about.
Yeah.
Yeah. How you see the world, how you see potential partners, it's all shaped by your journey.
There's that great story about the uncle, right? Sees a piece of land, calls it a worthless swamp.
While someone else looks at the exact same land and sees
Potential for a beautiful estate. Same land, totally different views, all down to that inner vision.
And here's a dramatic twist they mention. Sometimes past negative relationships can actually sharpen your appreciation later.
How so?
Well, what one person criticized in you maybe saw as a flaw.
Yeah.
The right person might see that same thing and recognize it as a strength, something unique and valuable.
So perception is everything. What one person dislikes, another cherishes. You need someone whose view aligns with who you really are.
Absolutely. And the power of belief from a partner, it's huge. Like that story of the woman with the hunched back.
Oh yeah, tell that one.
Well, she was burdened by it, lacked confidence, but then she met someone who saw past it, saw her inherent worth, and just poured belief into her.
And she blossomed, right? Stood taller, literally and figuratively.
Exactly. It shows the incredible impact we have on each other's growth. In fact, one source even says a wife is like her husband's scorecard.
Wow, a scorecard. What does that mean?
Like her happiness, her well-being, it reflects how well he's doing his part in nurturing the relationship, in helping her thrive.
That puts a lot of responsibility on both sides then, to actively support each other's growth.
Definitely. A good marriage should be a place where both people feel encouraged to become their best selves.
But there's a big warning sign here too. Watch out for someone who wants to fundamentally change everything about you.
Right. Not just help you grow, but wants to tear you down and rebuild you in their image.
The advice is clear. Change your mind, not yourself, for someone else. If they demand you overhaul your core personality, that's a huge red flag.
Yeah, compromise is one thing. Sacrificing who you are is another. Your basic self shouldn't be the price of admission.
And another danger zone. Getting married just because you're lonely.
Oof. Yeah. That's a tough one.
The source draws a really sharp line between, being ready for sex or intimacy and being ready for the actual commitment of marriage.
Very different things. Confusing them can lead to disaster. Marriage needs to be built on more than just escaping solitude. It needs shared values, real companionship.
Which brings us back to that dramatic idea, marriage as a call to die.
Yeah, it sounds harsh, but it's metaphorical.
Right, it's not literal death, but the death of the purely individual self.
Yeah.
Shedding that solitary existence.
And resurrecting as a combined one. It's a radical shift. It demands sacrifice, reordering your priorities.
And the source explains this death looks different for husbands and wives, referencing Ephesians 5. For husbands, it's this call to self-sacrifice, loving like Christ loved the church.
A kind of selfless service.
And for wives, it involves submission, a yielding within the context of that loving leadership. Now, interpreting these roles needs care.
Absolutely. Understanding the historical context is key, but the timeless principles are about mutual respect, love, and really considering each other's needs.
The source also touches on how men and women often think differently. Men may be processing things a bit slower, deeper, needing time.
While women can often be quicker, thinking on their feet.
And that difference alone can cause a lot of frustration if you don't understand it.
Recognizing and respecting those cognitive styles is so important for communication. Needs patience, empathy.
The seriousness of marriage is really hammered home with this analogy comparing soldiers going off to war
The solemnity of that.
with the often frivolous party atmosphere of weddings. It highlights the potential disconnect in how seriously we take the vow.
Yeah, it's not just a party.
The speaker even shares his own wife literally shaking on their wedding day. Not from doubt, but from the sheer weight of the commitment, understanding life was changing forever.
Wow. That's powerful. It really challenges the fairy tale view.
Definitely. And it challenges self-centered expectations. Marriage isn't just about what you get. Oh, and it even questions the idea that you absolutely need a ring for a proposal to be real.
Right, focusing on the substance over the symbol sometimes.
Okay, so that's about becoming the right person. Now, the second big pillar, actually choosing the right person.
This feels critical.
Hugely. The source says just praying for success isn't enough. Like in the World Cup, you need skilled players and training, right? Prayer helps, but it works with the skill and the good choices.
Makes sense. Faith and wisdom need to go hand in hand. You can't just rely on, say, anointing without doing the practical work of choosing well.
Exactly. The anointing works in the area of skill, not instead of it. And the failure rate in marriage is often linked to these shaky foundations.
Which leads to those 25 wrong reasons people get into relationships.
Yeah, things like marrying just for sex, focusing on the shape over character, or for money, thinking a temporary fix is permanent.
Or social pressure, everyone else is doing it.
Or even just convenience. Oh, winter's coming, I need someone. All potentially disastrous motives for a lifelong commitment.
It really underscores the danger of basing such a huge decision on something superficial or temporary.
The source also contrasts how men's love is often tied to their work and success.
Kind of transactional in a way.
Maybe. Whereas women's love is often more rooted in family, home. They even link it back to Adam and Eve's different consequences. Then there's this really honest personal story.
The speaker almost marrying for money.
Yeah, as a young preacher. It just highlights how brutally honest you have to be with yourself about why you're choosing someone.
You need to understand your own motivations, warts and all.
And you've got to look past the passport, the shiny, superficial stuff.
And really look at the passport owner. The actual person you'll be living with day in, day out. Their character.
Which is where the book, Who Should I Marry, comes in, suggesting you make a list of what's truly essential.
Yeah. Distinguishing between needs and wants. That's huge.
Absolutely. Needs being things like tolerance, faithfulness, being mentally compatible, having a shared future vision.
The fundamentals.
Right. Versus wants, like, well, tall, handsome, rich, graduate. The stuff that's nice, but maybe not essential for long-term happiness.
And it's so easy for the wants to overshadow the needs if you're not careful.
Totally. Character has to come first.
Yeah.
Which leads us to the 10 C's for choosing the spouse. Let's focus on the first two. They're presented really dramatically.
Okay.
First, see Christ. And this isn't just about someone who goes to church. It means a genuine, committed believer whose faith is active.
Right. Someone whose core values align spiritually.
The analogy used is, well, it's stark. It says you wouldn't pick a spouse from a mortuary. It's about spiritual life versus spiritual death and the connection.
It really emphasizes how important that shared spiritual foundation can be for unity and purpose, especially for people of faith.
Okay, second C, Christ-like character. This is huge. Character's deep-seated, often inherited, and there are red flags you just can't ignore.
Like what?
Lying, cheating, constant destructive quarreling. There's even a statistic mentioned if you have something like 5 negative interactions for every positive one.
The odds aren't good. It points to unhealthy patterns.
Exactly. And trust, especially around money. That comes up. Plus, this chilling fact from true crime.
Oh.
That in spousal deaths, the partner is very often the prime suspect. It just shows the absolute life and death importance of trust.
Wow. That puts it in perspective.
There's a story about an aunt who kept her finances totally separate, seen as a warning sign. And then this really sad story of the pillar and the caterpillar.
Explain that one.
Well, the pillar was this guy, supposedly a reformed gangster, born again. The caterpillar was this troubled woman. People warned him, but he married her anyway.
And it ended badly.
Disastrously. The point is, marriage doesn't magically change someone's core character. It usually just amplifies what's already there.
So those red flags before marriage, they're serious warnings, not just little quirks to overlook. Character is foundational.
Absolutely. Then, briefly, the third C is marrying your friend.
Companionship. Crucial for the long haul.
Exactly. Romance ebbs and flows, but genuine friendship, enjoying each other's company, that's the glue that holds it together over decades.
Makes total sense. You need someone you actually like spending time with.
Okay, let's shift gears a bit. Tailored advice for single men, drawing from 7 qualities wise men want.
Right. Addressing that tendency some men have to choose based on what looks or just a feeling.
Yeah, that vague something told me. Instead, it stresses the need for men to actually figure out what they need in a wife.
More intentionality, less impulse.
And a huge need identified for men is peace of mind.
Interesting. Why specifically peace of mind?
Well, it explores how men and women handle stress differently. Men often retreat, need quiet to process.
Whereas women might want to talk it through, engage more directly.
Right. So a partner who constantly creates drama or stress can actually hinder a man's ability to think clearly, to focus, to succeed.
So the home environment is really crucial for his well-being and effectiveness.
That's the argument. It also contrasts men's often singular focus or vision with women's ability to incubate ideas, handle details, multitask. And if the husband lacks vision, that can actually create stress for the wife.
So it connects back. It also briefly mentions men being visual, the need to guard their eyes, references to David and Bathsheba, Job.
Yeah, just acknowledging that aspect. Now, for single women, quick insights from 7 questions wise women want.
Okay, what's key for them?
Clarity, absolute clarity on the what is this relationship, where's it going, and the when. What's the timeline for commitment, for marriage?
So being direct about expectations and intentions.
Exactly. It notes the different clocks, too. Men often thinking financial readiness, women perhaps more aware of biological timelines.
Those differing perspectives on timing can cause issues if not discussed.
For sure. There's an anecdote comparing relationships under 10 years versus over 10 years, suggesting different levels of implicit commitment.
Interesting. Okay, so what about couples who are already married?
Right, guidance for them. Doing it right. Because marrying the right person isn't the end of the story, is it?
No, it's just the beginning. You have to actively work at the marriage.
Precisely. It talks about the shift from that initial romantic high, the butterflies.
To the need for intentional love, actually choosing to like each other day after day.
It describes 3 stages: the emotional high, then the inevitable emotional low.
Like when the novelty wears off anything, a new car, new job.
Yeah. Then the intentional high. This comes from knowledge, understanding the purpose of marriage, teamwork, bigger goals, not just relying on feelings.
Moving beyond emotion to commitment and shared purpose.
And a big focus is on actively trying to please your partner, referencing 1 Corinthians 7. The speaker even shares vulnerably about his own past.
Being emotionally unavailable.
Yeah, and having to consciously learn and adapt. It also stresses understanding gender differences in what matters. Doing things for your partner, even if they don't make sense to you.
Because it matters to them.
Right. Like how women often have this sharp memory for negative comments and the constant need for affirmation.
Words carry weight.
And then there's the book, How to Make Love to a Woman Without Touching Her.
Intriguing title. What's the core idea?
It highlights the difference between men's often physical first approach to intimacy and women's often emotional first approach.
So for women, emotional connection throughout the day is key to physical intimacy later.
That's the idea. It's not just about the bedroom. It addresses common misunderstandings about sex and intimacy, gives examples, like comparing it to appreciating a sports car, appealing to those emotional triggers.
Interesting analogy.
It also mentions women's strong spiritual needs and how men can become more likable by engaging spiritually with their wives. Books like Praying for Your Husband, Wife are mentioned.
The power of prayer in the relationship.
Yeah, and no dry season for financial harmony, all year round for weekly tips. Lots of practical resources.
Sounds like a toolkit for strengthening the marriage.
Definitely. And finally, the A to Z of marriage. It picks letters to explore what love means differently to men and women. Like A, for men.
Acceptance.
Right. Feeling accepted, not constantly criticized. Women are urged to be allies, not critics. It notes men and women compare themselves differently too.
And A for women.
Attention. Not necessarily all their attention, but their full focused attention when they're together. It even suggests conflict can sometimes be a subconscious bid for that attention.
That's insightful. What about R?
For men, R is respect. The power of respectful communication, tone, timing is huge for men. The story of Abigail and David is used as an example.
And for women?
Romance. Women generally love romance. It doesn't have to be expensive, just thoughtful, creative, special. There's a funny story about a phone gift that kind of missed the mark because it wasn't presented romantically.
The presentation matters.
It often does. And Love Letters to Mildred is mentioned as a way to understand and appreciate your spouse better. It all wraps up by encouraging people to actually get these books and keep learning.
So it's a continuous process of learning and applying.
Exactly. So as we wrap up this deep dive, the main takeaway feels pretty dramatic, doesn't it? Relationships, especially family and marriage, they're not casual things.
No, they're profound journeys. demanding learning, effort, real intentionality, a willingness to look deeper.
We really hope this dive gave you, our listeners, some valuable insights, maybe some surprises, and hopefully a shortcut to understanding these crucial bonds a bit better.
And it leaves you with that question, doesn't it? Are we really investing in understanding our closest relationships with the same energy we put into other parts of our lives?
Yeah. Ponder this. Are you putting as much focused time into understanding your partner, your family, as you are into your career or your hobbies? What single rule or idea from today really hit home for you? And maybe more importantly, what's one small thing you could do this week to apply it?
Maybe exploring some of those books could be a good next step.
Could be. Thank you for diving deep with us today.